What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. More Birthright coverage here as we continue on with our Brecht realms. Today we're taking a look at Coullabhie, which is neutral, and it's a elven realm. And with all of these Brecht realms, they're all seemingly like double-sided reviews, so these will tend to be slightly longer videos than normal, but there's just a lot to cover for each of them. Now, in contrast to the previous elven realms we've looked at, this one definitely has a lot of just a lot of provinces, B, a lot of resources and things too, whereas the Anawirian ones tended to, given their isolation and things like that, and lack of kind of interaction with human realms and other trading opportunities and things like that, just tend to be more isolated and sort of, in some sense, pinched for resources. That's not the case here. So the forest realm of Coullabhie is all that remains of a vast elven empire. It's always been a land of mystery and seclusion, a secret in the center of the human incursions. Several provinces here, so and mostly lower level, but we do have a couple of nice high ones here with Treuchlin and Windels, 5 and 6, and then all the magic potential is basically still there because it's an elven realm. Law is basically 100% controlled by the ruler. There's no temples because, again, no deities for elves in this setting. Some minor guild activity in the larger provinces, and then all the magic potential is essentially tapped by one source, which is the Sayer of Coullabhie. But then there is one other one here, which is a Roylan Greencloak, who has managed to secure a little bit in Knob Heath, but we'll get into that. So, the law. Though the grand elven empire of ancient eras is now but a memory, the elves of Coullabhie roam their forest realm steeped in tradition. The protector, Rihanna Wainmoon, who has a pretty impressive level here too. Level 11 Ranger, very powerful bloodline. She tries to maintain some order over her kingdom, but hallows the freedom of the legendary past, which is why you see that the law is mostly, well, it's maxed out, but it's not that everything is sort of heavy-handed and ruled kind of with an iron fist. So that's not the case here. Temples, obviously we mentioned that earlier, none. Now, there's some guild activity here. So Finn Hailfin, pretty high-level thief as well, and neutral good here, and a solid bloodline too, is head of a small group of elves and half-elves who wish to interact with the outside world. His harvesters trade elven cloth and foodstuffs with Treucht and a few other human realms. Mainly, they use the guild as an excuse to leave the Birthright every decade or so. Sources, the Sayer of Coullabhie, Cameronid, Bulleri. Again, we're probably butchering that a little bit, but pretty high-level wizard there as well, level 9, and true neutral. Has been the only source holder in the forest for centuries. She has been Sayer longer than Rihanna has been alive, and desires Coullabhie to be completely cut off from the outside world. It is her influence that keeps the province levels in the realm at low numbers, in spite of the fact that as an elf wizard, those levels don't reduce the magic she can tap. Now, recently, mysterious Roylan Greencloak, again, no info on him, so feel free as a DM to play that up, has managed to divert some of the magic potential of the land into his domain, but the Sayer has yet to react, so again, could be potential rivalry and or conflict there. Now, we mentioned earlier resources, typically with some of the realms we've looked at for the elves. Again, they're kind of limited, especially if you're taking over and ruling it. Not so much the case here. There's just so much power here. So you got a fairly sized army. But if we look at resources, right, starting off, you already have 50 Regency generated and then 105 accumulated. That's ridiculous amount compared to some of the other realms. Again, going back to a lot of the Anawirian realms where you're kind of just struggling initially starting up to really get the economy going, get again resources coming in, and then speaking of that, an 80 gold bar treasury. That's just bonkers. You can do so much with that and really probably not even get close to depleting it. You know, if you even just spent half of that on upgrades and other things for several domain turns, you still have 40 left over, which is just craziness. Now, the army consists mostly of rangers and scouts, but virtually all the elves of Coullabhie can fight if necessary. So you have 3 units of Greenleaf Gyard scouts, 2 units of Moonsilver Speyer archers, and then 3 units of Stayers Huinwidden. Fun wording there. So those are counting as pikes. Now, because it's an elven realm, she pays less for her armies than normal costs, as we saw in the rulebook. Each unit of scouts costs 1 gold bar to maintain per domain turn. Archers and pikes must be maintained only during domain turns that incorporate war moves, at normal cost for pikes and half for archers. So you already get a discount on that too. Then Rhianna also allows the Sayer of Coullabhie to maintain a small forest of elves dedicated to the protection of the forests. So you have basically another unit of archers and scouts out there. So decently sized force altogether, right? If we take that, it's basically 10 units. And again, elven ones tend to be pretty potent, especially in the archery department as far as their war cards go. But with that much resources and the fact that you essentially get a discount on upkeep for those, really you could spend, again, 10, 20 gold bars and add a sizable component to the force, and, deal with surrounding threats quite handily from some of the other realms that we've looked at. Now, region-wise, Rhianna Wainman had barely reached adulthood when the regency of the realm was passed to her. No one in the domain expected this quiet, introspective elf to become protector of the Birthright, but the land chose its own region in Coullabhie, or chooses its own region in Coullabhie. She built up the law holdings in her 2 central provinces, and each shines as if with moonlight from another age. The fringes of the realm's forests are patrolled by her Greenleaf Guard, but she allows her people great freedom in the outer forest. Rhianna enjoys reflecting on past days and what might have been, but she does have a keen eye for the present. Now, on the lieutenant front, while Finn Hailfin is not an officially recognized lieutenant, members of his family of half-elves, his elf father married a human, his elf paternal aunt also married a human, have advised protectors for more than 2 centuries. Finn continues to urge Rhianna to look outward, especially toward Detroit, but again, potential conflict with the Sayer, who wants things to be isolationist. Now, other important NPCs, speaking of which, the Sayer of Coullabhie is the most important NPC in the realm, and perhaps the whole Basin State area. She has carefully nurtured and maintained a network of source holdings and ley lines that is impressive by any standards. Completely devoted to the protection of the Birthright and the Elven Kingdom, she has turned her magic towards securing the realm of the elves. As a result, few humans ever cross the borders of the forest and come out alive. She does have a fascination with the halflings of the burrows, however. Unbeknownst, and yes, there is a halfling realm in Birthright. We'll get to it. Unbeknownst to anyone in the elven realm, the Sayer has actually allowed small groups of halflings, particularly Edvara Geralban, to visit the realm on more than one occasion. The Sayer has actually left Coullabhie twice to secretly visit the halflings in turn. So some interesting developments there. And again, if you're playing the realm, something to consider too, forging good relations as much as possible, with, again, on the one hand being essentially isolationist, but on the other hand having some sort of ties out to the outside world. This could be one of them that could be played up as well, and especially if this is, and these seem to be secret visits, right? So if you as the regent are having issues dealing with the Sayer, let's say you're trying to approach the realm and run it as more like building at least a few connections to the outside world, and the Sayer as the NPC is kind of getting in the way, this could be something that, if it was uncovered, could give you some leverage there too. Anyway, moving on. This all began when a small group of halflings led by Edvara visited the Sayer in her own forest stronghold. The halflings passed through the elven defenses as if they didn't exist, and politely, if firmly, asked the Sayer to withdraw her source holdings from the burrows. Impressed and intrigued, the Sayer recognized that the halfling domain, which she had previously overlooked, would prosper, and her magical holdings would be pushed out by the increase in province power anyway. She agreed to withdraw, and then the Sayer has studied the halflings carefully ever since, so have that. In addition, Finn Hailfin has Rhianna's ear, and although he doesn't know it, her heart. Finn, unlike most elves of the realm, does not look to the past for happy memories, but eagerly anticipates each new day, probably also due to the half-elven nature of him. He has traveled all over the Basin lands, and even through Sendur and into the Knassi lands. His mother was human, as was his uncle, and Finn takes pride in his mixed heritage. Charming and energetic, he seems to be unable to get on anyone's bad side, even his enemy in council, the powerful Sayer. So there you have kind of some of the external conflicts as they may be. Again, it's not as major of an issue, I would say, as you see in some realms where there is a lot of internal strife. This is more minor disagreement, at least for the time being. Now, a description of the realm. So long ago, before the humans arrived in the Coullabhie, or the Coullabhie spread far and wide to join the Sealwoad in the west, the Ranadorite in the east, and even the Grovnikivik forest to the north. Now the elves of the Sealwoad are few and insular. Those of the Grovnikivik have all but died out, and the Lamia sits in the midst of the once great Ranadorite. Again, another Anshe, which we'll get to at some point. Only the Coullabhie remains as a memory or memorial to the ancient elven forest kingdoms of the past. At least that's how most of the elves of the realm here see it. Now, cities, the two most popular or populous provinces, Trichlin and Windel, could be called elven cities, but elves in Cerelia have never believed in tearing down trees to construct their settlements, so instead they live in these great ancient tree homes in temporary dwellings and even on the forest floor. Since most of the elves in Coullabhie cling to the past through their memories, elaborate homes and cities really aren't necessary. Only Rhianna's court resembles any sort of human dwelling, and even it is a tree tower magically shaped by the Sayer long ago and should be awe-inspiring. There's, again, similar kind of a setup in Thielwo. There's a nice description there. If you go back and read that entry from the core Runes of Empire book, gives you an idea, too, of just like some of the splendor that the elves do create in that sense. Now, allies and enemies, obviously with the isolation, doesn't really bring you many allies, so there's no true allies. The Sayer could probably get the Halflings help if needed, but again, that's, debatable on just what really the Halflings could provide. Not that they're weak, again, we'll get to their realm, but even that amount of dependence might be beyond her. Of the human kingdoms, only Troicht is looked on with any type of favor. No one other than Finn and his harvesters has any real communication with that human kingdom. So again, there's really not diplomatic ties with anybody. It's just some individual contact with some of these like would-be lieutenants of the realm. Now, that being said, there's always enemies. So Royal Guard and Roarmarch are forested human kingdoms, but the elves deplore the way they treat their woodland home. In the eyes of the elves, the human seasonal plantings do not make up for the burnings, lumber calls, and conflicts between the three realms that flare up every decade or so are fairly common. The elves protect themselves from the Sword Hawk to the north as well. Again, there's plenty of Anshe in this Basin State area. So yeah, you have the Sword Hawk on the one hand, and although they see him kind of as a human problem, but they do not really fear the vampire or his undead minions to the northwest. So then, some special considerations. A human character would be hard pressed to win admittance to the realm, period, and even more challenged to get out alive. Even elves from other realms are looked upon with suspicion. So again, that's something that really should be played up in any and all interactions. So again, key piece for the DM to consider, and will be a major obstacle again for any kind of diplomatic relations outside of the realm. So, and especially if they're also suspicious of other elves. Now, the elves of the Coullabhie have little experience with dwarves, though there are legends of stunted people living deep below the mountains in the north. Again, could be a means of exploration that brings that about as well, and maybe create some unexpected encounters. While the Sayer believes in isolationism, she has been known to use her most powerful sources as guild holdings on rare occasions. Again, we'll get to the Book of Magecraft in due time. It is rumored that many of the finest wizards in Canasi lands secretly trade magical items and spells with her, but always on her terms, and they are seldom, if ever, allowed under the forest eaves. So again, you have that key difficulty here. The elves certainly can sustain themselves, but there would be so many advantages of forging some of these outside relationships. But again, that history of the elves in this setting, and really being able to trust any non-elven peoples is a difficult undertaking, and as it mentions here, right, even other elves are kind of viewed with suspicion. So you definitely have your work cut out for you as far as like kind of a direction you want to go. Internally, you're mostly fine. Again, you're not really going to face too many serious threats that you can't really, given your resources, just outspend. You have plenty of magical potential and other things available to you as well. So it's really just how you want to go about, if at all, interacting with the outside world. But again, based on whatever your campaign might be, the DM might have ways of bringing the outside world to you in ways that you're going to have to react to. So it's a fun realm, definitely, again, a powerhouse as far as elven realms go, with, again, tons of resources, but plenty of challenges. So hope you guys enjoyed. Again, a bit of a long one, but let us know if you've actually run Coullabhie or anything around this area and how that's gone in your campaigns. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.